is the Explosion Network's Fast and Furious podcast, and we don't have friends. We have family. Each week in the lead up to Fast and Furious 9, or throughout an entire 24-month fucking period, we shall be cracking a Corona. We're very drunk now to discuss the film's characters, music, and more of the Fast saga. My name is Dylan Blight, and joining me today, Ciaran Marsan.
I just blew the cobwebs off my 6-pack of Corona that I bought like halfway through last time when we were originally recording this. You know what? Just like family, it ages fine. It ages perfectly well.
Fine wine, like a fine wine. And also here, Ashley Elba.
Dylan, I'm excited to be here with the three of us, alphas, three apex predators, cooped up in this podcast booth. Tensions get high. What are you throwing up on the bench, big fella? 300 pounds, 400 pounds? Yeah, light work. I'm doing the same. Slagging, weight, clagging, and bagging.
I just want to point out, so I made a note here, of course. It says this episode is recorded entirely in 2021 because if you've been listening to this podcast lately, I've been re-releasing episodes. Some of them haven't changed, and then every second one I've been doing these reviews of the Netflix animated series Spy Racers. But otherwise, this is the first episode of this podcast we recorded entirely in 2021. And prior to pressing record on this podcast, Ciaran goes, "How do we do this show again?" But I'm very happy to know that Ash didn't forget, because his bit the entirety of the show was doing spot-on impressions and quotes of each movie. So,
I was tempted to tell Ciaran to do like the champagne, the opening thing, the champagne problem, whatever The Rock says. Cold can to whoop ass. But no, I thought that was a better line there. So.
Yeah, you got it. That was more than a line. That was a whole monologue.
that was like a monologue. That was like.
Yep.
Man,
so if you need Kevin Hart for your films, let me know.
Kevin Hart's lying.
So before we get into discussing today's movie, which is Hobbs Shaw, which I'll get into in a moment, of course, like I recorded a little bit of a bit for the first episode of It's About Family Season 1 Redux, which is what's currently happening and what this episode will now be part of. But just going around the room, Ciaran, now that Fast and Furious 9 is actually going to come out in a couple of weeks. I know this because there are critics that have already watched it, and
it's in other countries, right? It's in China.
Yeah, it's already came out in China and a couple of places. It's in cinemas in some parts of the world. Australia's going to get it in a couple of weeks. We're getting it ahead of America and some of they're doing a rollout of the places that have the most cinemas open, and seemingly America's like at the very bottom of the list, which is funny because Fast and Furious franchise, and they're getting it last. But there you go. But now that the movie's only a couple of weeks away, we're finally going to get to watch it. How you feel about this whole this thing approaching it?
Look, I was, first thing that came to my mind when Victoria went back into lockdown like last week, it was like, oh no, Fast and Furious 9, how am I going to watch it? But no, I'm honestly,
legitimate problem.
It's a legitimate thing, right? It was like, wait a minute, cinemas, and thankfully regional Victoria has opened up pretty rapidly since. Yeah. So, okay, cool. I should be A-okay, just Melbourne, yeah. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I think this is the first big movie event that I've at least been to, or movie since the pandemic. Like Demon Slayer was Demon Slayer, but it wasn't.
Is that the only thing you've seen in the cinema in the last 12 months?
Demon Slayer and what was that other? What was the
Studio
movie?
Ghibli thing? Okay,
the Studio Ghibli movie.
It doesn't even matter. So yes, this will be the first major motion picture.
So this is the first major motion picture since. So, look, I'm excited for it. It's going to be good old outrageous Fast and Furious nonsense. So looking forward to it as always.
Ash, how are you feeling?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty excited, Finally get to see the film. Finally know if Hart gets justice.
I mean, you've technically got your tickets booked, if you want to put it that way. So.
I mean, technically, by the time this comes out, I'll have watched the film, right?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
This comes out day of the release of the film here in Australia.
Yes. Yeah. So, no, I'm double weeking it.
You're double weeking.
I had to adjust the schedule because behind the scenes, everyone we kept readjusting the idea of re-releasing this podcast, and of course, like COVID, when's the movie coming out? They kept saying June, July, something like that. They gave us a release date in the first trailer for Fast and Furious 9, the first one they put out. And then I reworked this whole Redux schedule around that, and then we found out like a week or so afterwards, after I'd already sort of it was after I'd already released one or two of the Reduxes that they were like, oh, actually it's coming out earlier. It's coming out on the 17th here in Australia. So I was like, oh fuck, I have to rework some things because I didn't really take into account that. So this one, if I'm releasing one on Tuesday the 15th, which will be this one.
Oh, okay.
So this comes out the day before you'll be watching it. If you're going on, you're going on Wednesday, right? Yeah. Yes. So this will come out the day before then. I'm plopping this one in, which is fine. It's going off schedule. Of course, these have been releasing every
It's all right.
Thursday.
Nothing important comes out on Tuesday for Explosion Network at the moment. So
is that
I'm serious.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I purposely
it's one of the few free days.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm pretty sure I just slotted in on Tuesday instead of like the Monday or the Wednesday or anything, because I was like, it fits in there. And then you're like, the way you said it, I was like, wait, have I stood on something you've got planned that I don't know about? But anyway, that's I'm feeling excited definitely to watch the movie. I've seen the trailer at this stage a billion times because they show it literally every time I go to the cinema. And I go to the cinema. Yeah, like I've seen it every single time. I have not seen it since
we did that trailer react.
Holy shit. I pretty much can, I'm not even exaggerating. I think I have seen it every time I've been to cinema for the last couple of months. And I go to the cinema once a week, right? Most of the time. Maybe there's a week where a movie doesn't come out and I don't go watch. But I pretty much go every week for whatever's the new movie, right? So I've been watching this trailer a lot. And I'm kind of getting sick of watching it because it's the exact same trailer. But at the same time, the first few times I was watching it, every time I'd be like, yeah, I've seen it before, but fuck yeah, it's finally coming. Get excited. Especially because if there was like a cinema full of people, I'd hear some people start laughing or whatever, but then they'd come around because by the end of the trailer, I'd hear someone say shit like, man, this looks ridiculous. And then like they'd have a friend next to them to go like, we're going though, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, you're fucking going. Like, you want to watch this shit? They go in space. How can you not want to watch this shit? Come around.
Magnets.
Yeah, what magnet? What's shit's going off? Return of the Man, Han, it's all happening. So justice. But yeah, bonus episode we're going to talk a little bit about today. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw is released in 2019, directed by David Leitch, who is one of the people who did the John Wicks and that sort of shit involved in that sort of stuff. Written by Chris Morgan and Drew Pearce. The main cast is Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, Idris Elba, Vanessa Kirby, Helen Mirren, Eiza Gonzalez, Eddie Marsan, Eliana Sue, and Cliff Curtis. Synopsis for the film is lawman Luke Hobbs, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and outcast Deckard Shaw, Jason Statham, form an unlikely alliance where a cyber genetically enhanced villain threatens the future of humanity. So without saying, I don't want to pass it straight to Cam because I already know he wants to shit on the movie. So let's go to Ash. Ash, how do you feel about Hobbs and Shaw? Because I think we did a spoiler cast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did a spoiler cast.
I'm like, either I dreamed it or something.
On the old spoiler cast.
Yeah, review discussion channel.
Review discussion
whatever it was called. Channel. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we was both saw like, it was, okay.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about this watch?
This is an interesting film to watch in 2021. There's viruses play a huge role in this film, which is a weird thing to talk about, and I can't imagine any film in the next 10-15 years will touch that like MacGuffin. I would imagine, I feel like 10, it's a bit of a touchy subject.
10 or 15 feels especially way too long. Maybe the next couple of years, but
even like the post-credit scene with where Ryan Reynolds is like, I've got that virus fine, but there's a new virus, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it's COVID-19.
It's fine. It's kind of unremarkable, and kind of there's no really interesting action scenes. Really, it's kind of held up by Jason Statham and The Rock's wrestling promo work. Name calling each other through the entire film, and then Vanessa Kirby is really great. But yeah, this is kind of a figure. And Idris Elba gets his moments. I mean, again, like a lot of films, that opening fight scene was pretty cool. But yeah, as the movie kind of progressed, it became more boring. It's like, yeah.
Ciaran?
You know what? This movie wasn't as bad. I remember the first time I watched this movie; it was very bad.
You'd said off air it goes for 4 hours.
It feels like it goes for 4 hours. Holy shit! And it still felt like that. It wasn't as bad this time, but this movie didn't need to be 2 hours and 15 minutes. This movie could have been like a nice, probably cut like half an hour off that time, like maybe 45 minutes, and have like a nicer, more streamlined storyline. This movie, I remember it has some really kind of out of left field moments with stuff like, I didn't realize until because I watched this late. I didn't watch this when it first came out, but like Ryan Reynolds being in this movie was just kind of not something I'd seen or heard.
I don't think anyone knew until watching it, because I think me and Ash discussed on the spoilercast and whatever back in the day. It was like, oh shit, Ryan Reynolds is in this. Yeah, so
yeah, and this is it is just more Ryan Reynolds. It's it goes to the Ryan Reynolds playbook of calling somebody by their first, middle, and surname, but their middle name being like a female's name or something. Or it just really went by his playbook of humor, which worked in that section. As well as Kevin Hart just seems to randomly turn up in everything The Rock does nowadays. So that's not as surprising. I think Statham and Rock definitely do hold this up. I think as a whole, this movie is meh. It's really nothing special. It's annoying because there's stuff about this movie where we've talked about it all the way through recording this series that we're used to like suspending our disbelief for what happens in this movie, but the normal Fast and Furious movies do this in a way that is so. They like over the top. Like they do like triple backflips flying a rocket over the line of what we believe is possible. This movie just didn't feel like it pushed the bar enough for me to be able to completely suspend my belief in stuff. Also, anything with Roman Reigns, anytime Roman Reigns was on the screen, I cringed so hard because it was so awful.
He doesn't even have any lines though.
He doesn't have any lines. Exactly. He shouldn't have been that bad. But
yet he manages to ruin the ending of the film. Dude, I don't know if you noticed, but when The Rock's daughter is coming in for the first time, Roman Reigns is standing behind them as she's meeting the grandmother for the first time, and then they go out to the wide shot, and then Roman Reigns is behind the grandmother.
Oh.
It's a really bad continuity error.
What a fucking heel move from him to do that.
The thing is, right, Roman Reigns today is actually a good wrestler, and he's a good promo person and everything. At this point in his life where he was like the
2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah, where he was Vince McMahon's kind of wanting to be Superman good guy. There was one like in like the montage of them getting ready where he kind of randomly picks up a weapon and looks at it really awkwardly, and it's just like, I get it, it's Roman Reigns, but like,
well, he's here because he's related to The Rock. It's not just
you could have had the Usos as well if you wanted. Well,
no,
the
that would have
Usos
been confusing because they kept saying Usos all the time.
They kept saying Uso, and I was like, wait, which one's Jimmy? Which one's Jay? I can't tell the two apart normally, but there's all these ones everywhere. Like, well,
Jay's been doing a lot of work to make sure that.
No, Jimmy's been doing a lot of work.
No, it's Jay.
No, I swear it's Jimmy. It's fine. Jimmy's been in action lately. It's fine.
Is it Jeff Bridges?
No, but yeah, this movie's all right. It is what it is. It definitely feels like kind of The Rock wanting to kind of forge his own subset path in the Fast and Furious universe and branch it out a little bit more. This movie definitely sets up for another movie down the line with these two in it. Yeah. It's not a must watch in the Fast and Furious series at all.
Yeah, I don't love it. I didn't not enjoy watching it for some parts. I think Vanessa Kirby is the standout. Was my favorite part watching it the first time. She's my favorite part watching it now. But I also loved her in Mission Impossible as well. So it's just like I think she's been doing this kick-ass sort of spy action franchise takeoff or whatever. I think she's back in the next two Mission Impossibles too, from memory. So at least I hope she is. So cool, give me more of that. Bring her back for the sequel of this. I'm all about that. And then, yeah, as Ash said, it's like this movie without the charisma of the two leads of Statham and Johnson's just it really would fall apart. But I think the other interesting thing about this movie is like, you know what I mean? Like even Idris Elba's like quite charismatic as the villain. It's just the villain itself isn't particularly interesting, but Idris is, you know, he's keeping that character afloat more than a less charismatic actor would have.
He's Black Superman.
Yeah.
He is Black Superman. No, you know what's cool in him being Black Superman was him having his own grime check in the middle of his like entrancing chase. And I was like, and I had not realized that the first time. I must have been bored out of my mind or not as interested in grime and Idris Elba. But listening to him then, I was like, holy fuck, he's on this soundtrack? That's awesome.
Idris Elba does
and
music.
He's really good.
Yeah.
I know he does music. I just didn't know he was on that.
Yeah, I was going to spoil some of my picks later, but I think the other interesting thing about this movie is, and this sort of relates into some of my thoughts I had about Fast and Furious 8, which is that, so this is written by Chris Morgan, who's done previous to this, he'd done all the Fast and Furious ones from 4 onwards. I don't remember if he did 3 as well. Honestly, Tokyo Drift. Anyway, he's done the majority of them that people know and love, right? Chris Morgan wrote all those. And he writes this, and Chris Morgan writes these ridiculous action scenes, but much how I feel about Fast and Furious 8 faltered under the hands of F. Gary Gray and not Justin Lin, I again feel like David Leitch cannot direct the Chris Morgan action scenes and make them as ridiculous as they are, that's somewhat believable. Like, and I think that is and I feel like I come across as somewhat of a Justin Lin fanboy because I am to a degree, but I honestly feel like you can't put past the fact that Lin, and maybe this will all fall apart if Fast and Furious 9 doesn't live up to my hopes and dreams, but Chris Morgan isn't actually writing that one. That is a worthwhile note. He is actually, it's being written by someone completely different, which is another interesting tidbit about that film. But Justin Lin was always able to take these over-the-top action scenes of Chris Morgan and make them somewhat believable. You know, jumping a car between buildings, all that sort of stuff. Like, absolutely ridiculous, but somehow the way he just shot and, you know, paced these scenes and all these sorts of things, it just worked. And as soon as we went to Fast and Furious 8 without Lin, it's like, it's not really as good. And then this one again, Morgan writing, different David Leitch, the director, it's like, just something feels off. Like this and Fast and Furious 8, it's just like something feels off about the action. What is it? What feels different? It's the director. Like that's the coinciding factor between all these films. They just don't have Justin Lin, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting because obviously David Leitch comes from a stunt background,
but more like serious though. You know, like hand-to-hand combat, like sort of stuff. And
yeah, and I mean that's probably the better stuff in the actual film. I mean,
the hand-to-hand stuff, not the over-the-top action stuff.
Yeah, like the actual fights. Yeah, like Jason Statham in the apartment. Or The Rock versus Vanessa Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff, yeah. But all the car stuff is kind of like forgettable.
All of the car stuff is just...
a lot of it is like very reliant on music, like licensed music, you know what I mean? Rather than like
the franchise has always got lots of music, but it's always just it seems to be like it's...
I feel... No.
This one,
this one, it just felt like... It felt like, yeah. It felt like it leaned on that a lot.
He just really missed capturing the moment that The Rock was strong enough to pull a chain with a helicopter attached to it and reattach it, you know?
Like when you think about it, compare that to Captain America holding the thing.
Yeah, Captain America is like nothing compared to that. Like, that is...
He didn't pull it back. He just held it there for a while.
I guess. But like it just doesn't... It's just not... Like you just feel like it's not... it's a kind of undershot, I feel, like a moment like that. Even like it just doesn't feel... Right. It's just, I don't know. Like, it's maybe not the right director for this sort of action because, no one argues. No fans of the Fast and Furious franchise argue that the action scenes and stuff of these movies aren't over the top and ridiculous, but it's when they're filmed in a way and delivered to you in a way that you can sort of buy into the fantastical world and forget about it and not sort of be watching it and overthinking it at the same time and all that sort of stuff, that the magic sort of happens of this franchise. And when you're sitting there watching this one like that, like another thing I found super distracting is Idris Elba, the bike. I hated the bike.
I thought the bike was so fucking cool.
I hated it. I hate
so really?
I hate it. I hate it so much. It was just one of those things where I'm like, it just seems like it's such an easy cop out for everything. So then it's like every time they thought they could escape him, like he could get out of anything. He could always have the bike like wrap any which way he wants. It just, I'm like, why come up with something like that? Because it just, I don't know, it just seems stupid.
Also, because he's a cyborg, it's like, why do you make any mistakes? Like, you knew you wouldn't have been able to jump off the bike and grab her.
Well, that's the thing. I think but I think that's a story element to it, though. Is that he's still got human, even though he is talking about how adding more machines makes him more humane, it's still the human parts of him that are holding him back and making him make mistakes. I think that's part of his story, and the duality of his story in many ways is that kind of he preaches that, which is kind of weirdly complex storytelling for a Fast and Furious movie, but whatever, that he is so for replacing his body parts with robotic body parts to make himself superhuman, but still having the human parts holding him back so much. I think for me there was like one cool shot with the bike that I kind of popped off for and was like, that's really fucking cool. But yeah, I can see your points on it, that it was kind of a fix-all kind of replacement to any questions or problems that he was having.
Yeah, so getting into the family for this week, a little bit different than, of course, every other week, because we're talking about the core Dom related family a bit more, so this is a little bit different.
There was a lot of family in this.
There's a lot of family, but it's also like,
but it's not the family we care about.
It
was getting to the point in this movie where I was like, man, this family stuff's a bit more, forced down your throat to remind you it's a Fast and Furious movie. Like,
well, that's the connecting fabric. They're like, what makes a Fast and Furious film? Well, cars, yep, action, family. Like, that's the.
I'd say it's all about family.
It's all about family. Yeah, it's all about family. You'd say, yeah. So Deckard family grows with
Hattie.
The introduction of Vanessa Kirby, of course, added as his sister. And then you have the Hobbs family grow a lot in this film with the introduction of
a lot of them.
All his family.
Yeah. His mother, his brothers, his cousins. Like, there's
you could list them as like his mother, Jonah, the Usos. The Usos is like a chorus line, really, of characters.
And Roman Reigns.
And Roman Reigns is like a background Uso.
So the thing I wrote this just being funny with myself. I wrote, Brixton worked with Shaw, and everyone thought Shaw turned on him and his crew, but it was actually Brixton, and Shaw is actually a good guy. And please, everyone forget about how he killed Han, because rewatching this again, it just reiterated to me how many times in this movie that they like Morgan or Universal telling Chris Morgan to like please try and write a way that this character can be brought around as a good guy. Because of course, people like myself, reaction to Fast and Furious 8 was just #justice for Han, and now we're about to get that, right? So this movie, you can really tell they're trying hard, because not only do you have a line literally near the end of the film where he's talking to his sister and he's like, I've done some things in the past I'm trying to make amends for, which is, that's about Han. But then the fact that they do this whole storyline where they're like, even his own sister thought he was the bad guy and he did things wrong, and Brixton's like the bad guy and he killed Brixton because Brixton was actually the bad cop and Jason Statham was being the good cop. It's like all of this storyline just to go, look, he didn't. I know he killed Han, but please, he saved that baby in the last film as well. I remember that. He was a really good guy.
I can't remember exactly, but either Statham says it or The Rock says it, that his answer for most problems is to shoot it in the head. And I was like, man, that hits close to home there with poor Han, but sure.
It was an accident.
I think that's what their problem. They casting Jason. Do you reckon when they originally casted Jason Statham, they had ever intended for him to become a good guy?
No,
because that was the thing, right? They casted somebody that is just too likable in that role.
He made a really good bad guy, though.
Yeah, he made a great bad guy, but also at the same time, Jason Statham. Firstly, for me, I really like Jason Statham. Watching this movie, especially the part where he was like fighting through that corridor of people, I was like, man, can somebody just give me another Transporter film already? Because that'd be cool.
3 was terrible, so.
Yeah, but make it good though. You know, give it the John Wick treatment with Jason Statham. That's just like really. But yeah, it's very. The narrative of this is very. Hey guys, remember? You know, everybody loves everybody. We're all super great. Yep. Like
no one
please,
ever really dies, and the bad guys are also probably good guys, and
except
bad guys. And...
Idris Elba did only get kicked off a cliff this time,
and he's a robot, so
he could get restarted. You know,
yeah,
it was all a trick to get him away.
Right? Give him some AA batteries, you know. And then
as long as it was waterproof.
I have this under the bad guy family tree, but Ryan Reynolds, of course, that we mentioned, is introduced to this film, and he's seemingly the actual bad guy of the whole film. Because in case this is the thing that a lot of people missed, and it wasn't like found out until like a couple months after the film released or whatever. But the person who was credited as the Etion director, voice actor, was like a fake name. And then people actually figured out it was actually just a fake alias for Ryan Reynolds. So Ryan Reynolds is apparently the voice of the Etion director in this film, which is to say that Ryan Reynolds is apparently the bad guy. So you can try and work out what that means, but
I guess with the predicament he's in at the end of the movie, where he has clearly slaughtered a whole bunch of people and has blood covering him, but he's very kind of nonchalantly talking to Dwayne and making jokes and everything. I can see that. That's a bit, you know, it's a bit weird if they're going to kind of almost throw out the punchline to their future movie already.
I think it's pretty obvious is that there's two options. Etion is either Hobbs' dad or it's Ryan Reynolds' twin brother.
Could be. The name, by the way, I just double checked what it was the person credited as a voice actor of the Etion director is Champ Nightingale, which sounds like a very real name.
What an awesome name!
Yeah,
I'm gonna write that down for like a D&D character or some shit. That's awesome. Champ Nightingale.
That's it. That's his porn star name. You know, first
maybe.
Straight. Yeah,
possible.
Does anybody also like just as like a general factor, right? The Etion really, you know what? Well good efficiency. Etion is at getting all their like cars and everything to Samoa and getting it all set up so quickly. But the real question is, which is in the universe that is Fast and Furious, does time run differently? Is time a different scale? Because that was an awfully long 6 minutes.
For what?
For they said that for the guns to be disabled. She said it takes 6 minutes and lasts for 6 minutes, and then they had done like.
I think I'm pretty sure if you did some maths on how long that 6 minutes was, then you could actually figure out how long the runway in Final Fantasy. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I think. I think maybe we forgive the runway if we work out what time is in the Fast and Furious universe, because
there's different lengths
time
of
just
time,
might
space.
Time just might hit differently back there.
It's possible.
Maybe.
You could actually probably do some legit maths on this.
I mean, they're going so fast and so furious that they're breaking the time stream.
It's possible. I buy into
it. Going so fast, they're doing stuff before like time lasts longer because they're going so fast. You know?
Also, on the island of Samoa, apparently you can have like rain in one area, and maybe like nearby, but not that far away, it's like sunny and nice.
Yeah, that's Tasmania.
At the same time.
Have you never seen rain before?
I've seen
rain. Have you seen rain clouds come across?
Like, I have, but it was like bucketing down in that freaking where the airplane crashed, and was not that raining anywhere, and there was like clear skies, and there was clear skies nearby. Hey, you fucking.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, just in case the listeners were confused. They're like, did I see the right movie?
Fast and Furious 9 is the one with the planes in it from the looks of the trailers. This one indeed had a helicopter, yes.
Had a plane as well, yeah.
It's true.
Lots of them have planes, honestly.
Yeah, but this one, to clarify, I had a helicopter. Ash, what's your favourite line from today's film?
Let me break it down for you, Frodo. This ain't 1955 anymore. All right, despite the fact that the girl sleeping right there is related to you, she's still one of the toughest, baddest, most capable women I've ever encountered in my entire life. And if she chooses to look the way of this big, brown, well-endowed, tattooed mountain of a man, then guess what? I'm going to let her climb this mountain over and over and over again.
Wow. I like how I always appreciate how I've written down like a one sentence thing and I just got that whole performance. Yeah, so I'm just going to do mine following on from that. Great performance. But mine, you kind of spoiled mine before because mine really is that son of a bitch really is the Black Superman. Just because both times I've watched this film, got a little bit of a chuckle out of me. Don't know why. Ridiculous line. Like, when he calls himself Black Superman, all right. When The Rock says that son of a bitch really is the Black Superman and the way he delivers the line, just so corny it makes me laugh. So that's the one I went with. Ciaran, what'd you go with?
I go with, I thought it would be a cool thing to say when Hobbs baits him into shocking them 5 times. And it just like instantly breaks, and he's instantly there's that moment of, there's 2 ways they could go about it. And normally you would think with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, they'd go the straight man that really does mean it and is like, man, I'm so tough and cool. But no, he really just breaks and goes, no, I was just wanted to be cool. And I was like, you know what? I believe in that. That's great. That's awesome. Also, just anything Jason Statham says, because Statham's accent is still fantastic. As a fellow Englishman.
Have you ever seen, you probably haven't watched, what's that film that he's in, the Spy one with Melissa McCarthy?
I think it's a Spy.
Is this called Spy? Have you watched that, Ciaran?
No.
Okay, watch that if you want to see Jason Statham delivering some really over-the-top one-liners in very Jason Statham delivery. It's quite fucking funny. Moving on into the mix, of course. Every episode, every movie, we've been picking 2 songs from the movie, add them into the ultimate mix. What are the best songs from this film, Ash? What are your 2 picks?
I'm going to go with All Roads Lead Home by Ohana Bam and Token, and Time in a Bottle by Youngblood.
You just fucking, no, we can't have that. That gets struck from record. I'm refusing to let him say Youngblood like that. That's fucked. That's actually fucked.
Mine were 100 Miles of Running, because logic, and then I had the If I Die, Hobbs Shaw, the
Even
Idris
If I Die.
Elba, sorry, Even If I Die, Idris Elba on the mix.
I hate
Cypress
you
Hill.
guys so much.
Why?
Because you've taken all of my...
That's fine. You can say them. There's no need to... it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're allowed to duplicate. We've done it before. I know we recorded
I had Time in a Bottle by Youngblood, and Even If I Die by Idris Elba, Cypress Hill, and Hybrid,
There you go. The picks. This soundtrack was not as interesting as past Fast and Furious films, to be completely honest, but I had a couple of alright songs in it, including the one by Youngblood, by the way. It's
Youngblood, not whatever the fuck Ashley said.
Youngblood.
Youngblood.
I don't know if that's him trying to do Youngblood's accent or if he's just...
I'm just purposely mispronouncing names of artists.
Okay.
That was the other bit that I was doing, I think.
Gary, you gotta help me freeing the crew.
There's nothing I can do.
Fine. I'll break them out myself.
Don't take it personally, guys! Toretto's never stay locked up for long!
Hello and welcome to the last Fast and Furious Spy Racers review segment thingamabob. Of course, if you've been skipping these because you don't care, this is the last one. It's the penultimate episode of It's About Family. So this is the last one of It's About Family Redux, as this season has been. Talking about the final season. So it's Spy Racers Season 4 Mexico is what this season is. Came out only a month and a half ago. Pretty much came out when I started watching the first season, or like a week or so before that, I think, or a week or so after that. It's one of those ways. Either way, Season 4 Spy Racers, pretty good. Continues to build relationships between the characters, of course. Introduces new family members, of course. And traps our heroes on the road as they're framed for a crime they did not commit by the new villain, the big bad guy called Moray is the villain this time. And we'll come back to him in a second. He's he's not too interesting. But the cool thing about this season that I liked is that Miss Nowhere gets trapped with the Toretto family heroes, our main characters. She's also framed, and she's separated from Gary this season, which is quite good. So Gary gets stuck at HQ, and he's actually looking for her, trying to track her down because he's like, oh no, she betrayed us and all this sort of stuff. But the really good thing about that means that Miss Nowhere, someone who I've come to enjoy on this show quite a lot due to her zany one-liners and attitude, seeing her not just yell at Gary and that being the crux of it, and seeing her have to interact with all the other characters in the show, I just enjoyed that so much more, and I hope that's kind of a thing that can continue in season 5, 6, however many of these they decide to do. Talking about other characters, there's a couple that are new in this season aside from Moray, the bad guy. So you have Cisco's uncle Tuco is introduced this season, who's a famed luchador. He has a minor role, but it's fun, and he's voiced by Dan Trejo, so that's quite enjoyable. He does a really good job at voicing that character and making it quite enjoyable. And the relationship that Cisco has with his uncle is quite fun to watch on screen as well. But talking about new fun voice roles, AEW's Paul White, who you probably know more as the Big Show from WWE, voices this new killer agent who's hot on the heels named of our heroes named Palindrome. Cool name, cool character. Really badass, a lot of badassness and heart to him and all that sort of stuff. The really cool thing about this character is this show, and I think I talked about this for season 3, is it seems like they've been trying to not mimic the movies, obviously. The show's quite different, but mimic some of the beats that the movies have taken. And this is very much like Hobbs' introduction, where he's the bad guy, but I don't think it's a spoiler to say that if he comes back, he's probably gonna, he's probably gonna be a good guy at that stage. So, but he's the bad guy. He's hot on the heels of our good guys, but we know they didn't do anything wrong. They're framed, right? So, you have this whole relationship where they're trying to stop him, but of course they're not trying to kill him, or they're trying to, get Palindrome to understand what he's doing. And yeah, Paul White does a really good job with this role. I think he was like perfectly cast. I don't know if it's just his voice or just the attitude that he brought to delivering the lines, but he stood out. Every time his character was in a scene, I was really into it. Like, he brought a lot to every scene. And maybe it's just a thing of having more adult characters surround the kid characters that leaves a better balance between the silliness of it, especially when Toretto's speaking in this and you're like, he's becoming one of my least liked characters, which is funny because they give him less and less time in the show, I swear. So take from that what you will, I guess. This season does have a few races, which is good. So they still are including the car racy aspect of it. It still has a little bit of that. In fact, I think there was more races this season than the last. I haven't gone back to compare, of course, but the villain and plot I did not love in this season. And the main villain plot. Like, there was a lot of cool character stories and the palindrome stuff and all that sort of stuff was really great. But just like the main villain stuff we're dealing with. So you've got Moray, who I couldn't even wrap my head around it or even remember, or I didn't pay enough attention, and I've kind of forgot between finishing the season and starting this. I don't even know, but he's basically wanting to activate some sort of prophecy that'll kill half of the world or something. I don't even know why. It's a thing. By the time you get to the last episode, it feels like it's sort of a Fast and Furious crossed with Indiana Jones plot or something. I didn't really understand it or go for it. So yeah, I don't rate the villain. I think the villains in the show work a lot better when they are a bit more silly and fun. And this one wasn't particularly grabbing me. So that's my one big negative for this season. But Fast and Furious Spy Races Mexico was another solid season. I'd probably rank it in the upper, probably at number 2. You could make an argument for being the best season. It certainly would be up there thanks to a lot of the smaller things like having Miss Nowhere around more, Paul White being introduced as Palindrome, all this sort of stuff. The villain's currently dragging it down for a little bit for me, and the lack of just some more straight up races. I still obviously would like some more of those, although they integrate them quite well. But anyway, that's it. That's my catch up. That's been my all my reviews now of Fast and Furious Spy Races. I've officially watched everything related to Fast and Furious. You can hear me talk about everything related to Fast and Furious on this podcast. You've now heard me talk about all of it, except, of course, the thing we're about to get excited to watch. And by the time this drops, by the time you're listening to this, if you're listening to this on day release, it's only a couple days away, or at least if you live in Australia. If you live elsewhere in the world, it's either got a couple more weeks for you or it's already out. So it just depends where you are. But Fast and Furious 9 is out. Australia, a couple days. Pretty darn excited. Doing this little watch along with this kids show. It's been fun. It's been enjoyable. It's time to move on to the big time, to the big boys. You know, big cars, big dom. That's what we want. So make sure you tune in for the final episode, of course, where I'll be talking about that.
All you gotta do is ram them, and then smash them, and then ram them some more.
You messed with the wrong crew.
That's my familia. Laser grenade.
Did you really have to yell laser grenade?
Well, what's the point of throwing a laser grenade if you don't yell laser grenade?
All right. Look.
The fact that you can remember these bits is impressive.
Well, I've got notes. So. Looks like we're all out of NOS for this week.
Oh, he said it.
Oh, he said the line.
It's been a year. I said the line. You can follow us all on Twitter by heading to explosionhour.com/Twitter. Not next week. In the next couple of days, what did I say this was out on? Tuesday, I said, right? Yep. So on hopefully Thursday or Friday, honestly at this stage, depends because we're recording this a few weeks prior to them. But we will have another episode out. We will finally, after a full over a year of been recording this show and talking about it, we will finally be discussing Fast and Furious 9. So make sure you
Dylan, why would you say that? You jinxed us last time.
No. Okay, make sure you head to the cinema, watch Fast and Furious 9, and then tune in to the finale.
Wear your masks. Keep your social distance so we don't get a lockdown.
Get your COVID shots if you want.
Maybe we should just not let anybody in the country for the next 2 weeks to make sure.
To make sure we can watch Fast and Furious. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be it. So next couple of days, finale of It's About Family. Make sure you're back and listening to that one, and because #justice is coming. They can't fuck me. Actually, I saw someone on Twitter. I did like 2-3 tweets, like a mini review, and they were like, Han may get a little bit too much time in this movie. I was like, too much time. That sounds like the right amount of time to me.
Sounds like not enough time.